Hello and welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy people over 40 so they can improve their health and feel amazing. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach for people over 40 since 2015. And today we're going to be talking about why personal training works for some and fails for others. Now, before we jump in, real quick, I know I haven't asked this in a while, but if you have a sec, go ahead and hit follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening so that way you don't miss another episode going forward. I was taking a quick peek at the analytics, and I love all you guys who are on Spotify, who are on Apple, who are on all the other places, and there just seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between the people listening and those who actually follow. So if you want to be one of those cool kids, one of the people at the cool table, and be in the club of subscribers and followers, go ahead, take 2 seconds. All right, now let's get on with the show. So, why personal training works for some and fails for others. Now, when people hire a trainer, it honestly is like one of the best moves you can make if you have fitness goals, if you're trying to burn body fat, build muscle, build your endurance, try and get in shape for some sort of event that you're doing, because it comes with the biggest piece, which is accountability. You have somebody to answer to, but you also have somebody with expertise. You have somebody there to make the workouts a lot less boring, somebody where you're like, wow, that hour went really fast. And you also feel really certain about the results, even during those days and times where you're like, I really don't feel like anything's happening. You have that person to lean on and be like, no, it's okay, and talk you off the ledge long enough so that you can see the results. But that being said, it just doesn't work for everybody. Now, it could be the trainer. Like, some trainers do suck. We have a very low barrier for entry. So unfortunately, some bad eggs make it in there. I know one instance that comes to mind is I had an old client who was online, and she just it wasn't clicking online. It just wasn't enough of an in-person accountability experience like in-person training. So that's really what she needed. So she ended up going to an LA Fitness, and she was talking about personal training, ready and willing to jump in and do the thing, and had the worst experience ever because the guy who she was with was just constantly bringing it back to her weight when she made no mention of her body weight whatsoever. She's like, I want to get stronger. I want to feel better, and all these good things, which are awesome, which we good trainers hope to hear, because the performance side of things is so much more fulfilling, and it takes your mind off of all the other stuff while the body composition stuff happens naturally without a direct focus on it. So for many reasons, I was very disappointed to hear that she unfortunately found herself a bad trainer. And unfortunately, when you go to big chains like that, like LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, Crunch, all these other ones, that's where a lot of people start out. And honestly, a lot of them may end up being very good trainers, but in the beginning, maybe they're not. So just something to keep in mind is, if you do want to get one from a big chain gym, they usually get people that are fresh. And then the dropout rate when it comes to how long trainers stay on is actually really like high. The percentage of people that drop off is high, because the average lifespan for a trainer is only 2 years in an industry like this. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you don't want somebody who's new, who's green, who doesn't have the expertise, or the people that are in the best situation to help you, maybe look elsewhere, maybe find gyms. I know that's how I run my gym. It's literally a coaching gym where you are here being coached by me, somebody who's been in the industry for over a decade, and will help you, and you can feel better about that. Now, it usually does come at a little bit higher of a price point, but that is what you got to consider when it comes to these types of goals. Do you want the bare minimum, or do you want the best situation for yourself? But I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Don't you worry. All right, so could be the trainer. It also could just be the situation. It just isn't the right fit. Sometimes we're looking for something that's a little bit more like intimate, where it's one-on-one versus small group training, or instead of big group. Or maybe you find yourself in a group class and you're like, I thought this was going to be just us. So you got to figure out what that right situation is wherever you're at, or it could be something else. So what I'm going to do is just take you through my past month. And I had a crazy past month with over 15 people signing up for free trials during the month of July. And as you would imagine, it was a pretty crazy split as far as people who signed up, people that dropped off, and people who I have yet to talk to about what we're doing going forward, because I always start with a free trial. Also, very big thing to look for, if you can get a free trial with a trainer, like a couple of free sessions, or I do a free week, 2 free weeks if you're a referral. Like you want to be able to test drive the car before you buy, and definitely before you sign up for some massive package, which unfortunately a lot of these places tend to do. But we're going to focus on this case study right here, which is my people. And I'm basically going to take you through the people that are succeeding and doing really well, and those who fell off and just did not get the outcome that they wanted. So out of those, or sorry, it was 14, not 15. Out of the 14 trials, 5 dropped off. 3 we have yet to talk. We're doing a strategy call where we talk about that next step and what that's going to look like. And 7 of them signed up. So why did the 5 drop off? Well, for one of them, it actually just wasn't the right fit. Like I said, some people are looking for other things and it's just not right. And that's cool. Part ways, make sure that you got that we're both in a better situation. So that way I'm not underserving you. And then also you're not forcing yourself to be in a situation that you know isn't best. Next is there just wasn't a personal desire to be here. It was like somebody else brought them in, or somebody else was like, you got to do this. Come on, do it. At the end of the day, we can want so hard for people to get their shit together and get on this journey of being more fit and being more healthy. But honestly, you can't want it for somebody more than they want it for themselves. And I've had to learn that myself, being that person a lot of the times where I'm the trainer and I'm like, come on, we got this. And they're just like, meh. Now, if that's the case, it's just not the right time. They're not at that right stage of change, like the willingness to change, the readiness to change. And everybody gets there on their own time, but you need to make sure it's the right time, and that if it's you, you're doing this for yourself, not for somebody else. Next is ghosting. I know stuff comes up, you never really quite know. And then when people go a while without chatting with somebody, like a week or whatever, then there's usually some shame behind that, where it's like, oh, I feel terrible, I didn't even message them, they probably think I'm such a waste of time. And then these negative thoughts start swirling through your head. And honestly, just as somebody who's doing this and is on the other side of that, we're waiting for a response. Like, it'd be great to hear from you, even if it has been a week or 2 or 3 or 4, or like multiple months. Like, it's never a bad thing when somebody says, hey, I'm actually ready to take this serious and get started on my goals, and I want to get back in. No good trainer is going to be like, screw you, I gave you your shot. Nope, not going to do that. Like, no, nobody's going to do that. At least nobody that I know that's worth their salt, that is good at what they do and actually gives a shit about people. Nobody ever does that. Next is timing, scheduling, or just general capacity for it in their lives. Now, sometimes when it comes to scheduling, you really need to be crystal clear on exactly what the scheduling looks like. So first thing that comes to mind for me is, like, my fiance goes to Orange Theory, and the times that they have in our local one just suck. Like, she just can't make any of them, but she's dishing out all this money every month, and she has a negative taste with that particular location. Whereas back in New Jersey, when we were there, she loved it because it had the perfect times, it had people she liked, and she's like, this is awesome. But here, not quite the same. And if you have, say, a one-on-one trainer, then that can tighten the gap a little bit when it comes to scheduling, because they might not have the times that you need, or they might not be able to switch when life happens. And honestly, sometimes some trainers are just not that good about, like, bending over backwards for their clients, which, I mean, we all should, but some don't. So if they can do it, but they won't do it, then that's also something to take into consideration as well. I've heard of people who are trainers that take like 2-week vacations multiple times a year, and their clients are left like twiddling their thumbs. And it's like, no, we didn't sign up for that kind of profession where we can take a couple of weeks off, multiple vacations a year. I'm like, if I can squeeze in a long weekend, I'm a happy dude, but that's about it. Or I tell everybody I get 1 week during the summer, 1 week during Christmas, and that's it. Otherwise, I am here for you 24/7. And people are like, what, you don't take Memorial Day off? You don't take this day off? It's like, no. We're trainers. We signed up to be here for you during those times because we know you're not working and you're actually going to make your session. All right. And then also just life capacity. I know one woman I was talking to is literally taking care of her husband 24 hours a day because he's in a bad medical situation. So you got to be realistic and be like, okay, what can I actually do? Do I have help from family? Do I have help from caretakers, like things like in-house nurses or things like that? Like, am I able to do this? Because honestly, some people can't. They're just not in that season of life where they're able to make it to a gym or they can leave the house. And that's a good case for online training and more flexible options like that. But you really got to be honest with yourself and be like, do I have the ability to do this? And then the other thing that came up was price, or like price being the top priority. Now, the reason I separate the two is because one, if the price is too much, it's too much. I know I had somebody who just had a job change and they're like, yeah, I can't do it right now, but in the future I'm coming back. I'm like, cool, no worries. I'll hold a spot for you. But then there's other people where it's like price is the leading priority here, where like I had somebody ask, why can't I just do your $30 program? I saw it on the email. And if you guys aren't sure what that is, like the Train Heroic programs, I put up on Train Heroic a sample of like kind of what we do in Fit 40, and I sell it for $30 and you get 4 months worth of programs. It's like, it's awesome. It sounds great on the surface, but at the end of the day, it's just workouts. Now you need to understand what you need. Like, what are your specific needs? Because those are two different services right there between personal training and the workouts. If you're the type of person who's already exercising on your own, you're consistent with it, you know how to do it in a way that keeps you pain free, and you know yourself well enough to execute the program properly, then yeah, by all means, go ahead, do that one. Like, you'd be wasting money if that was the case. But if you're the type of person who does not do those things, and you know you'll buy the program, it'll sit on your phone for months on end and you'll never get around to it, and you'll be like, well, at least it was only $30. But then months go by, years go by, and you're not doing anything, and your health is getting worse, and you're worse off than when you started, because you're like, oh, I made the purchase and that was good enough to check the box for you mentally, but physically it didn't do shit for you. Then that's a big problem, because that's also a trap that a lot of people fall into when they get inspired, when they get motivated to work out. They're like, I'm going to buy something. So they end up like, this makes me think of a client way back when I was at a gym in Jersey, and she bought, in her first week, she bought a whole year's worth of sessions. That was the last we saw of her. Okay. And that's because some people get so into it and they're like, yeah, they're drinking the Kool-Aid immediately, and they're super hot and then they're super cold. So you want to make sure that you're not seeking a dopamine hit just from the purchase or just from that first time. You got to keep doing the thing over and over and over again, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is doing more than 1 day a week. Now, some people can only afford 1 day, and that's cool, but if you're able to, you should do 2 or 3 days a week if you can, because that reduces the chance of fall off. If you're only going to make it in 1 day a week, and then that week something comes up, you can't make it, you're going almost 13 days without your next, like, between sessions, if not more. And that just makes it so much easier to fall off. So you don't want to be stuck in that situation either, which again is why you want to find a flexible option. So if you can't make it on your day and time, you can just be like, boom, I'm going to a different day and time. That's why I love how I do it with small group training. Like, we have an app where you literally just say, okay, can't make it, I'm going to cancel my reservation here, and boop, I'm going to plug myself in there. And there's up to 4 slots for up to 40 hours out of the week. So you can plug and play and figure out what works in your schedule. So situations like that tend to work out really, really well for people. But again, it depends on what you're looking for. Now, that's all the reasons why people did not follow through, why people did not sign up. Let's talk about the ones who did. Like, what is some green lights, I guess you could say? What, like, if you're experiencing this, you know you're in the right situation. Well, first off, a few of them just were curious. Like, they saw the Fit 40 shirts around town and they're like, hey, what is that? Asked them, got them in, and they hung out and really enjoyed it. And they're like, oh, this is fun. I like doing this. And that's how fitness should be. It should be a fun experience. Like, it shouldn't be, I'm going to crush you, I'm going to make you puke, you're going to walk out of here limping. Like, no, that's stupid. That's so outdated. That is so dumb. Unless you like that, which most people don't. But honestly, there are some people who are a little masochistic, and it does the job for them. And if that's the case, go ahead, have fun, go to your CrossFit classes, go to your whatever it is that really just beats the crap out of you, if that is what you're looking for. But majority of people I've met really like feeling like, hey, I did a little something. I'm kind of sore, but not really that bad. But I feel like I definitely did something yesterday, which is a great spot to be in if we're talking results wise, because that allows you to recover at a really good pace so that you don't outkick your coverage and you don't overdo anything. Another couple of people had done personal training in the past, but they just fell off for some reason. So now they're back in the saddle and they just needed the right situation. And this just happened to be it. So if you're one of those people who has done it in the past and you're like, I know I got to get back in, I know I got to get back in, then just find that right person around you to keep you honest and like make sure that you actually do it, because you're capable. Clearly, if you've done this already, you've signed up, you've committed, and it just so happened that you fell off, you can get back into it. Just get that person. And then the others, this is kind of the flip side of what I talked about before about doing it for yourself. I had a couple of guys who have wives that came in and said, hey, I want to do this and I want her to join me at some point, but I want to do it for myself first. And then she could see how well I am doing and then come in. And I'm like, that's one of the best reasons, is to lead by example, to be that person in your household or in your family who's like, I'm doing the damn thing. Watch me go. And then that inspires people. That makes them want to be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, I want to do that now, rather than you being the nag and being like, come on, you got to do this. You got to get fit. You got to eat right. Come on, come on. Whereas if you're just leading by example and they're like, I want to do that, it's way more likely to stick, way more likely to succeed long term. What else do we have here? We had a couple that just said, hey, enough is enough. Like, I know, I see the trajectory of my health and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm going to nip it in the bud now before it gets bad. And that's one of the best places to be in too, because if you see, hey, things are slipping, and the person that comes to mind here is a little bit on the younger side. And she's like, listen, I got to get ahead of this. And I was like, thank you, Lord. I wish more people would do what you're doing right now, because it can be a slippery slope. And if we don't nip it in the bud early, it just gets harder and harder and harder to come out of those bad habits. So if you see it happening and you're like, listen, this is the time, then commit, get yourself to a point where you can establish really good habits and you feel really good and you fall in love with the process when you're still able to physically. Because some people put it off to the point where they can no longer physically get to that point because they have an injury, they have a limitation, they can't do certain things to get themselves fit again. So sometimes it's a little bit too late. So if you get ahead, you'll be in a much better situation. And also, last thing too was that all of them, I think one does 1 day a week, but all the others do 2 or 3. So it's easier to fall off the less you are around. But if you can only do the 1 time a week, then do it with the intention of building up, because that's what that person did. Is they're like, listen, I know myself, I don't want to get overwhelmed in the beginning. I'm just going to start with 1, and I fully intend on going 2, maybe 3 down the road. And I'm like, perfect. As long as the intention is there to rev it up, then we're good. So try and get more days than less in the gym, and also try and do some activity while you're not in the gym, because that's another discussion we would have a lot, is what do I do when I'm not here? Like, do something that makes you sweat on the off days. And then that way you have a consistent activity base where you're like, hey, this is what I do every day. I do something that makes me sweat a little bit and I'm always on track. And when you do that, you see good success. So all this to say, what should you do when it comes to possibly seeking out a trainer and getting on a plan and seeing amazing results? First off, figure out that budget. Make sure you can afford it. Make sure that you know the prices going in. I know like federal agencies have cracked down on gyms in particular, and also other companies not posting their prices. And for that reason, like Google and some others won't recommend certain websites when their prices are not listed. And if you ask like LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and the others, they won't recommend if they can't find prices. So for that reason, and also just because I don't really care at this point, like I want everybody to know the prices, they're on fit40coaching.com. So if you know a trainer that has a website, or you know a gym that has a website, go check out their pricing and make sure it fits for you. Next is figure out your schedule, and not just what the perfect week would look like. Figure out backup days. Let's say little Johnny gets sick at school and you can't make your 8 a.m. session. What's the plan? What are you going to do after that? Or let's say that, hey, you are supposed to work out in the afternoon and your car just dies and you have to go get it fixed at the shop. And now you got to push it a day or two. What will that next day or two be? So that way you have the plan, and then you have the backup plan to ensure that you have the highest chance for success. Also, find a flexible option for that exact reason. Okay, understand what the class times are. If you're working with a trainer, understand what their availability is. Like if they're willing to come in on Sundays, if they're willing to like change the days up last minute if you need that based on your work situation, your life situation. So it doesn't hurt to ask and test out. Next thing is just ask if you can do like a session or two for free or a reduced rate. And if you can, ask your friends who have a trainer, like, can you refer me? Like, are they taking on new people? And word of mouth is usually a pretty good tell, because if anything, if they say, okay, this person's a blast to hang around with, that's like 90%. Like, yeah, they might not be the most educated on the topic. Maybe there leaves a little bit to be desired when it comes to the X's and O's of it. But if you're enjoying it, if you're just having a good time moving around, that's 90% of the battle. So you just want to make sure you're having a fun time more than anything, so you keep coming back. And last but not least, commit for the right reasons. Okay. Keyword, commit. Don't just half-ass it. Don't say, yeah, I should do this. No, commit and say, I am doing this, and get yourself in that headspace where you become a problem solver, a troubleshooter, so that way you're in that space of, I'm going to make this happen and we're going to figure out how. And when you do that, make sure that you're doing it for you, not for somebody else. Don't be like, well, the old ball and chain told me I should get healthy and eat a lot less crap and not drink as much, so I figured I'll hire a trainer. No. Okay. That's not going to happen. That's not going to work. Get yourself in there because you want to get better, because you deserve a high quality of life. You deserve to work towards something and get that sense of achievement. You deserve to earn your progress. And when you do that, good things happen. You're going to feel a whole lot better, and you're going to be happy that you did it. And also, make sure that you pick goals that really mean something to you, because it's easy to just say, yeah, I just want to lose weight. And it's so surface level that it doesn't really mean anything. Dig a little bit deeper. I know you've probably heard me say that on this show before, but get past the surface. Okay. Ask yourself, why? Why do I want to lose 20 pounds? Well, I want to feel more energized. Cool. Why do you want to feel more energized? Well, I mean, right now I feel a little bit of pain in my knees and it just stops me from doing things. Cool. Why does it help, or why does it stop you from doing things? What would you like to do? Well, I'd like to run around with my kids. Cool. So you want to make memories with your kids. That's the reason. That's the real goal, not just lose 20 pounds. And make it a reminder and plug it in somewhere so you constantly see it over and over and over again as your real why and your real fuel behind doing all of this. And if you can do that, you are going to see a lot of good things happen. All right. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. And I guess you'll hear the outro. Here you go. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got a lot out of it. Before you go, I just have one quick small ask. Just take 2 seconds and leave a 5-star rating, give it a like on YouTube, or share this with someone you know will benefit from it. Thank you so much in advance. I'll see you in the next episode. But until then, go kick some ass. Bye-bye.